Let's talk about the lateral move scam that happens in big corporations. Hey, this is Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. If you're currently making $130,000 and you find a $180,000 position in your company and you finally want to move forward, and maybe the previous years you hadn't looked for a higher level position because you were happy where you were, but now you're starting to see inflation go up and you're going to apply for this $180,000 position, you're the top candidate. You've got the experience. And then Human Resources says this. Well, it's a lateral move, and if it's going to be at that other rate, it'll have to be approved by upper management. What the hell does that mean? Well, it means that you're being scammed. You're qualified for a $180,000 position. You are able to do the job, and you would even get selected against outside candidates, and they're only going to give you a small raise. They're not going to move you up to what the midpoint is. Well, you have to understand why lateral moves exist. First off, every company is trying to get the very best talent for the lowest possible dollars. Listen carefully. You have to understand their side of the game. They want to hire the best talent at the lowest amount of money. If they can get somebody out of town and it's $180,000 to get that person to come on board, but they're going to have to cover moving because the person's got other offers, and they have a choice between another candidate that'll take $180,000 and doesn't have to move because they're already in town, great. If they can get an inside person who doesn't make that amount of money yet, and they can convince them to move up out of promises, out of, wow, you're going to have a bigger bonus, they'll do the lateral move. But the lateral move is bullshit. It is bullshit. If you keep taking the lateral moves to stay in the company you're at, you're going to be left behind. I always challenge listeners to do the job offer test. Take an old job offer. Maybe this job offer is from 2017 and it was $112,000. And you go to a salary calculator, you go to an inflation calculator, you put in 2017, you put in the current date, and then you look at the amount. So $112,000 in 2017 to have an equivalent buying power with basic inflation in 2020, you would need to make $118,000. Now, if you've got 2% raises every year, you're not going to be making $118,000, and it gets much worse. If you're making $112,000 in, season just blow my mind, 1996, and you're going to 2020, you need to have $187,000 as your current rate. So if you stay in a job for 5 years, 10 years, you will be making less money as far as buying power is concerned. The actual dollar amount might be more. You might have a higher bonus pool, but overall, your total compensation doesn't buy the same amount of stuff as it did when you first got that. That is the job offer test. Now, here's the bigger issue. I'm using just a basic inflation calculator. If you're looking at different areas of the country, cost of living can go up in one area 5 to 10% a year. And it could multiply in 2 years, and maybe it's 5 to 10%. It just really depends on your area. If you're currently living in a rural area and now you have to take a job in a city somewhere, your cost of living could be so significant that your old job actually pays more than the buying power of your new job. See, but that lateral move bit, they get you on the hook. They get you through a couple interviews. You're qualified to do the position. Now, you obviously have to be qualified to do the position. And then they say, well, you know what? This is a lateral move. It's happened to me before. It's happened to many of my clients before. It is garbage. A lateral move might seem like a good option to stay in a company, but you've got to always negotiate a higher salary. But more importantly, have options in the marketplace. Have options in the marketplace. You need to be able to walk away. So here's what I recommend when we're doing job searches. You want to make sure, whether it's job searches or contract searches, you want to make sure that you have 5 or 6 options in the queue. Now, you might not have job offers for all those, but you want to make sure that you're interviewing every month. And I know when you're serious about getting work done and you're striving to do your very best at a job site, you don't necessarily have the time to do the networking, to send the letters, to make the applications, to reach out to the right people. I understand that. And especially when the job application process through websites is so impersonal and so time consuming. And they do that on purpose so they can get the maximum number of resumes. Now, at one time, I had an assistant who would regularly apply. I basically gave them a scope of positions. Each week, they gave me a list of options. I would go and pick the ones that I want them to apply. They would go apply. I'd end up getting offer letters for a few jobs here and there. Now, sometimes I would get an offer that was worth switching. Sometimes they wanted a corp to corp. Sometimes they would do a 1099. Sometimes I'd work 2 or 3 of these positions at the same time. But that required me to have somebody in the office for almost $23,000 a year in order to stay ahead of a high income position. Now, I did take a balance. I figured, okay, look, I could give myself a $23,000 raise by not having this person in the office. It was a dumb thing to do. So when you're looking at career growth, you've got to look beyond just what you're getting paid. Maybe you're getting paid $112,000 a year. You get the option to get a $117,000 a year job. You need to look at what your costs are going to change. Maybe you've got to drive to the other side of town rather than working out of your home office. Maybe you've got to be on call for much longer. So another thing we've talked about in the past is wage dilution. You might be making in another job $120,000 a year. It's more than you were making before, but now they expect you to be on call 12 hours a day. They're constantly having meetings at all hours of the day. Everything's on fire all the time. And, maybe in the back of your mind, you're hoping things are going to get better, but it's garbage. And now you're stuck. You can't go back to the previous company. You can't go and you can start looking for another position. But again, that fear is there. The devil you know versus the devil you don't. That's why you might want to stay at your own company. But human resources knows this. That's why they're going to get you on the hook. They're going to tell you about this lateral move. And you're going to say, well, I thought I was applying for a promotion. No, this is lateral. In order for you to get to the promoted price, we got to get senior level management approval. Now, how often do you get to interact with senior level management so that they know you're the right person for the job? It's very rare. Now, what I recommend, and I don't always follow this advice, and I kick myself in the ass every time, what I recommend, just like my mentors told me, and it worked well in the past, and I just stopped doing it for some reason, is always looking for new work. You came looking for work, you keep looking for work. You take a business perspective and you get out some regular marketing. Now, I use my newsletters, my podcasts, I use some direct mail, and I do still reach out on a regular basis. I try to cultivate certain relationships. I try to make sure I'm getting good feedback and collecting success stories, and that I'm doing my day-to-day work in such a way that I'm capturing artifacts of my value. And it is hard work. It's like a part-time job. But I'm constantly being surprised by the next lateral move. By the next, you're the perfect candidate, but you're going to have to move halfway across the country. If you want financial independence, if you want financial security, you need to be in a position where the majority of your earnings is going into investments. So you're not looking at your whole salary for your lifestyle. You're looking at a very tiny fraction of your salary for a lifestyle. You put that in place. Now, you might take a lateral move to get access to a different department. You might take a lateral move to get away from a bad manager. But ultimately, the lateral move is about cost management on the human resources side. Human resources folks are basically compensated on either placing very high expensive positions with low cost talent. I mean, you're actually qualified, but they're getting you at a discount. And also by, if there's attrition factors or targets for reducing headcount, how can we cause this to happen, and so that we can reduce the headcount of the individuals? As an employee, you are literally livestock. And believe me, I am an employee at times. I don't want to be livestock, but essentially you Go with the herd where they tell you to go. Now, being in an office, you're going to be more loyal. They're going to be able to demand more of your time. And a lot of folks after this COVID lockdown have realized that they don't need to be in an office to do their job. So what's going to happen here shortly is people are going to be asked to come back to the offices. They're going to be lateral moves. They're going to be moves where they're basically not going to give you any more money. They're going to give you that 1%, 2% a year and think they're doing you a favor. Well, meanwhile, inflation is 4 and 5%. But this lateral move is a scam. Hey, we got a new position that opened up. This will be perfect for you. It's a promotion. And then when you start talking about pay grades, you have to stay in the same pay grade. It's better than getting laid off. I had somebody tell me today, I said, look, I've never worked in an office. I've seen no need to go to an office. It's distracting to be in an office. I have to sit in traffic. And they said, well, everybody else got to sit in traffic too. Well, I'm not everybody else. I'm more productive in a home environment, in a home office, or in an office where I can control light and sound. Unless you're going to give me a corner office, they're probably going to put me in the basement. But unless you can give me an office that's private office, nobody's bothering me, I can control the lights, somebody needs to talk to me. My phones don't even have ringers. I don't even turn the ringers on my phone because I work from a schedule. When you're working with people from around the country and around the world, you need to work on a schedule because you could be in a 9 o'clock meeting and then in a 7 p.m. meeting. So I've got to manage my time in between. We can talk about that in another program. But time and time again, I hear folks talk about that lateral move, about how they were offered a better position. They had an opportunity to move to another department, and last minute Human Resources says, hey, this is a lateral move. You're only eligible to receive a 2% increase depending on budgetary considerations. And salary adjustments will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. The job listing was $180K, and you're only going to get a 2% raise off your current position. When you flip the script and you understand that human resources, this is actually a strategy in human resources that helps you reduce the cost of human capital, that's when you should realize, actually, hopefully listening to this podcast, you realize that if you are going to move up in an organization, if you're going to increase your income, you've got to be more proactive. You've got to have 3 or 4 offers on the table. You need to be considering 1099 contracts, setting up consulting or corp-to-corp arrangements. You got to be looking at 4 or 5 companies at a time. See, the Human Resources Department is looking at hundreds of candidates for every position and at least 5 to 10 candidates when they start doing the interviews. So why aren't you looking around too? Folks, I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. We talk about how to transform your income into wealth, and we've just been talking about the dreaded lateral move. I know the media is going to tell you how it pays off and how you get to stay in the company where you like the culture. Well, I'm telling you, it's a scam, and it's used to lower headcount. It's used to reduce costs, and it's actually incentivized in the human resources departments. If you want to stay ahead of inflation, if you want to get an actual promotion, there are 5 to 10 steps that you need to go through, which include cost of living analysis, looking at your current expenses, proximity to work, how long you're going to be in a car. And we can talk about those things one-on-one. If you have any questions about what I've covered today, you can visit me at www.sustainablewealthsecrets, all one word, .com, and ask your questions there. Simply go to the contact page and contact me by fax or to send me a letter. I'm Justin Hitt with Sustainable Wealth Secrets. Thanks for listening.